Good evening. It is Wednesday, May 25th, 4:30. We are going to start our special Board of Education meeting with a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand. Thank you. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so at this time, Mrs. Sybula has elected to go into closed session for her evaluation, which is her absolute right. So I will need a motion that the Board of Ed goes into closed session pursuant to Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act, Act 267 of 1976, that being for the purpose of discussing or to consider periodic personnel evaluation of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent.
So moved.
Forward.
Any comments or questions? Okay. Mrs. Krantz, could we have a roll call, please?
Sure thing. Trustee Westrick?
Here. Yes.
Vice President Bebock?
Yes.
Trustee Prill?
Yes.
Secretary Disselrath?
Yes.
Treasurer Cedar?
Yes.
Trustee Chop?
Yes.
And President Frank?
Yes. Okay, so we're now in closed session. Okay, so we're back in open session and we'll move to the next item on our agenda, which is recognition of persons wishing to address the board. This is where the board listens to comments. The superintendent will take notes and respond to you at a later date. So I have 2 green cards this evening. Are there any other green cards? Just the 2? Okay, last call. Leslie Steyer.
Hi first. Okay, so good evening, sirs and madams. I was just wondering what type of programs are currently in place at our schools or in the district to support our students in a proactive measure, more so than reactive, but really in both measures as it pertains to emotional and mental health supports, especially in this day and age with all of the concerning things that are happening both in our community directly and in our schools directly, but also outside of them and in other states. It's a nationwide issue at this point. And there seems to be, from what I've seen overarchingly, missing pieces as far as the proactive measures and how we're supporting the professionals, the educators. How are we training them to handle mental health concerns or emotional issues with their students? How are we, what kind of funding is available for programs and supports and training? And what does that look like on an annual basis, biannual? Are there additional certifications required? How often are they required to refresh any education programs that are being offered or required? And ideally, I'd like to know what's required as well as what's optionally available to educators and to the administrators and all of the professionals training and teaching our children.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and then I had one other question, because you had said that the superintendent would get back to us. How does that happen, and what is the time frame for that?
I make calls, thank you. I make calls and I try to do it within a few days following the board meeting.
Okay. Phone calls only? Is there an email option, or can there be a phone call and then a follow-up in an email? Because I'm a visual, tactile kind of gal. I got to see it and touch it. And I like to come back to it and reference it, from time to time if I'm looking to maybe volunteer or advocate for something in the community.
Sure.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kayla DeSnyder.
Hello, that would be me. I'm here tonight to speak to you, to the board, and to the superintendent about some things that are happening many concerns. I mean, that's just saying the least of it, but with my own child and within our school district, we're extremely concerned about the lack of communication between the parents and the school. The school's not communicating well with parents at all. We just had a recent issue that I'm going to get into later to talk about that. They're not communicating well with the students, and they're not communicating well with actually each other in the district or in the school. In our own experience, we sent an email to the board as well as the superintendent on April 20th, and then we sent another one to follow up on May 10th. And we still aren't getting any answers. We were told that the reason that you're not responding is because we filed a state complaint, and the email we sent did not have anything in it regarding the state complaint. Unfortunately, that is not where we wanted to go with it. We wanted to just talk to staff and have them address our issues, and that wasn't happening. So we were forced at that point then to do something to get answers. Staff is now, and hasn't been for a while, not answering questions regarding our own child. And that brings me to the other issue where my child is in second grade, and in his class, a student brought 3 bullets to school. None of our parents were informed of it, including the parent of the child who informed the teacher that this had happened. Nothing was addressed with the safety of our students. There was no protocols put in place or procedures. As far as I know, it's still not been addressed. One parent got a call yesterday from the social worker to apologize for the principal. The principal didn't even call the parent themselves to apologize for overlooking the situation. And given the incident that happened yesterday, why is that okay? I mean, there could have been a lot of things that happened, especially because the student also told multiple children that day that he was also going to bring a gun to school. And we believe that he truly was just showing off, that it was not intentional to harm anybody, but that needs to be taken seriously, especially given the situation that's happening. And the only reason that that parent got the call, and it was pretty much admitted by a haha, yeah, I know, is that we spoke about it. We talked about it because we felt that other parents needed to know, because we had heard from multiple parents, and they were all asking their kids questions, and they were talking about what had happened. Multiple kids had seen this. There was no emotional support for those children whatsoever, and that's just not acceptable. The school is also really lacking in data collections, all of them. We have heard anything from tally marks on a piece of paper. We actually have somebody that pulled their child out of school because that's how data collection was being taken. That student was also being given rewards that were food. I don't know how appropriate that is. We've also not seen data collection very well done with our own child. Just so many issues with that. We actually, if you read our email, you'll see all of those issues. We were told by our administration at our school that they will call the police, and they have been told by the teachers union to call the police on children who assault staff. And I asked if that includes children who have a disability, who have a behavior intervention plan and an IEP, and she said yes. And I said, what if the behavior is a manifestation of their disability? And she said it doesn't matter. They're general education students first. So that's a concern, because they're worried about suspending children and doing that more than they are about this fact that somebody brought bullets into our child's school. We still don't have any answers on that. We're trying to figure out, if we have this new safety director, what is his job if it wasn't to put policies and procedures in place for this happening? Do we have policies and procedures? Do we know what he's doing to prevent this? Or is he just going to the school with a gun and a bulletproof vest on and talking to the kids? I mean, what really is his role? As parents, I think we all in the community need to know that. We need to know that something is being done to protect our children. We have been failed so many times With special education, we have addressed concerns about our special education director. That is in the email. We've had many times where he's failed to file paperwork in a timely manner. Things were missing from our child's records. Didn't leave a great first impression with us, so, I mean, there's so many issues, and if you really take the time to read our email and actually address it, there's just a lot of things that are going on that shouldn't be happening. They just shouldn't. And, you know, we have done everything we can for the district. We were very big supporters of the district. My husband and I raved about the district. We did anything that was asked. We fundraised. We were at all of the bond meetings, pushing for that. We had a sign in our yard. And this is what's happening with our kid. There should be open communication. Our concerns should be answered, not sloughed off as that we are doing everything and working tirelessly to meet the needs of all of our students. And that's it. So hopefully you'll take the time to read my email.
Thank you for coming this evening. Okay, our next item on the agenda is an action item regarding the superintendent's evaluation. Mr. Bennett?
All right. Thank you, everybody. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Jay Bennett. I'm the Assistant Director of Executive Search Services with the Michigan Association of School Boards. I have been asked to come out and help facilitate the evaluation of the superintendent. So we've just come out of closed session where we had a very robust conversation around the superintendent evaluation, and it is permissible for us to go into closed session for that discussion. Now that we are in open session, excuse me, we will be going through each of the areas and coming to consensus on a rating for each of the areas, and then we will have a final rating at the end of this process. So before I start, any questions from any of the board members? Okay. So we'll start in this area of governance and board relations. This first area is around policy involvement, and I believe the rating of 3.5 is appropriate here. Okay. A2, goal development, a score of 3. A3, information, a score of 3.5. A4, materials and background, a score of 3.5. A5, board questions, a score of 3.5. And A6, board development, a score of 3. That brings us to an area, a score of 3.33333333333333 and on. Okay. Moving on to the area of community relations. B1, parent feedback, based on our discussion, a 3. B2, communication with community, a 3. Community feedback, a 3. Media relations, a 4. District image, a 4. And approachability, a 4. That brings us to a category rating of 3.5. Staff relations, area C. C1, staff feedback, 3.5. C2, staff communication, 3.5. Personnel matters, 4. C4, delegation of duties, 4. recruitment, C5, A4, C6, labor relations, A4, and then C7, visibility in district, A4. That leaves us with a category rating of 3.857142857. Okay. Into the area of D, business and finance, budget development and management, a D1 of 4, budget reports, D2, a 3.5, financial controls, D3, a 4, facility management, D4, a 4, and resource allocation, D5, a 4. That brings us to a category rating of 3.9. Instructional leadership. This is area E. We start with performance evaluation system, a 3. Building level leadership, E2, a 4. Staff development, E3, a 4. E4, school improvement, a 4. E5, curriculum, a 4. E6, instruction, 3.5. E7, student feedback, a 4. E8, student attendance, a 4. E9, support for students, 3.5. E10, professional knowledge, a 4. That comes for a category rating of 3.8. So our overall score for areas A through E is a 3.69. We will now move into our final 2 areas. So our first area is student growth. That is a score of a 4. And then our area of progress towards district-wide goals, that is also a 4. So the magic that is Excel has done the math calculations. Our total final score is a 3.845119048, which works out to a 96%, which puts our superintendent in the area of highly effective. I will provide a copy of this evaluation back to the district. Superintendent can then add her artifacts of evidence to that. Board president can then add any comments from the board to that. And then that will be your evaluation of record. I will also include some recommendations based on what we talked about in our closed session today, and some areas that you as a board have expressed interest in working on as growth opportunities for your superintendent, and then possibly some areas for goal development for the next evaluation cycle. Okay. Any final questions or concerns for me as it relates to the evaluation?
No concerns. I'd just like to say thank you for guiding us through the process. I think it was a really good conversation that we all had, a good opportunity to ask questions, share concerns and ideas, and so we appreciate the process.
Yeah, it's very much needed. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. If you don't have anything else for me, then I will turn it back over to the board president.
Okay, so I move that we accept the evaluation rating as presented.
Support.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I have a question.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
Are we not allowed to ask questions?
Okay. Motion carries. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Can I ask a couple questions, because I'm not familiar with this? Who gives the information and how is it measured? Is there like a formal document or how do you measure like student progress and growth?
There's a rubric that goes through each item and what highly effective is, what effective is, what each of the areas are. So we go through and talk about all those areas of the rubric, and that's what we spent the last 2 hours.
Oh,
doing.
no, absolutely, I
Yeah.
understand that, but like, how do you get some of the information and how do you measure it? So like, one of the areas in the rubric is student progress and growth. How do you measure that?
We want, yeah.
Not right now.
Yeah, it's not
So
a,
we'll
Yeah.
respond.
We can talk to you
if
later.
you want to give, when I call you and talk to you about your other concerns, we can talk about your questions, okay?
Is it-
Got to be alone. I'm sorry.
No, you're
No,
good.
good.
Yeah, it's
So
hard.
what I
We
heard
can
you say
erase
was,
them.
I need to go to the Department of Education and find out.
If you go
That's
to
what I heard you say.
the Michigan Association of School Boards, just type in Michigan Association of School Board Superintendent Evaluation, it'll come right up.